kids don't want participation trophies. They don't want allowance. They don't want you to just hand everything to them for free. They don't deeply want that.
Hey guys, it's Mindi Linscombe, your host of the Something New show, where we like to learn how to live a life worth celebrating. And with me today is my special friend, Scott Donnell. Thank you for being here.
Good to be here.
I'm so glad you flew in from Phoenix to join us live in the studio. And I'm just going to read a little bit about Scott because he has quite an amazing background. And I think you need to know before we begin who he is. He is a best-selling author of Value Creation Kid, The Healthy Struggles Your Children Need to Succeed. With over 6 million families served, Scott is the leading voice in helping parents teach their kids good money skills. He is also the host of Smart Money Parenting, a worldwide top podcast for families. And now he's launching the world's first bank account for kids and teens that plays like a game called GravyStack. Welcome to the studio. And I just want to hop right in and say, what in the world made you think, I want to help people learn about money?
Oh, man.
Where does it begin?
It is not being taught anywhere. That's the issue.
Yeah.
When you look at the stats today, less than 1 in 4 22-year-olds is financially independent. And then when they turn 25, the same percentage fails a basic money test. Like what's interest, Mindy?
Yeah.
Like here's $100. You get 2%. Next year, do you have more, less, or you don't know? That's the kind of tests
that they can't answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got an issue, and so we can go into some of the history, but
I'm like, what's your background a little bit? I mean, so for those of you watching or listening, Scott and I met earlier this year, actually in an event with Mart and Steve Green. We were hanging out at Hobby Lobby and we were putting a small group together talking about our family. And I was like, who is this guy? He's really passionate about his kids learning how to use money, grow, and add value to people's lives that I'm sure you're going to talk about later. But I was so like, your enthusiasm was just electric. It rubbed off on me, and that's why I wanted to keep talking. So yeah. But what's the background? How did you grow up? Did you grow up with money, without money? What kind of opportunities did you have?
Yeah, so I come from 4 generations of really successful entrepreneurs that never passed on a penny, and I couldn't be more thankful. For us, money is actually, if you really understand money, money's not good or bad. Money's a tool. Mm-hmm. It's the love of money that causes a lot of problems. But a lot of people have like the poverty mindset out there is like money's bad. Profit is evil. I got to spend it now because it's going to be gone tomorrow. Like they have this negative view of money. But then on the flip side, if you think money's everything and your calendar and your texts and your mind and your thinking is all about money all the time, it's your idol.
Yeah.
And so I come from an incredible legacy family. They didn't pass it on for a very specific reason. So 90% of generational wealth is gone by the grandkids. And what people don't understand is underneath that number, divorce, destruction, estrangement of kids, addiction, mental health, abuse. All these things happen when you get lottery ticket kids and grandkids. And I think a lot of first generational successful parents, when they're like, we made it, we have enough to cover the bills and we're doing well and we're growing and thriving, the first thought in their mind is, I want to make sure my kids don't have to deal with what I had to deal with growing up. I want to make sure they have all the things I never had. I just want to make sure they don't have to deal with the things I had to deal with coming up. Well, what made you, for starters? And you don't want to pass on trauma or abuse or neglect or even tough love. We're not fans of that. But you need to put your kids in situations where they're learning the financial skills, the critical thinking, the practical skills to succeed. And so that's really, my first business was about 15 years ago. My wife, my lovely bride, Amy, she was a first grade teacher, and she spent all her money on her students.
I remember those days. I was an elementary school teacher, and you literally want to buy the best books for your classroom and all the things. And then you're like, wait, I don't have anything left.
Yeah, she spent her whole paycheck on her first graders. And I was like, what are you doing? And she didn't, she wasn't trained up in these money skills, and she was making $38,000 a year as a first grade teacher. And I said, all right, that stops here. And so I started a company to do fun runs at schools. Many people probably listening have done this. It's called Apex. We're like the predominant fundraiser for schools across America, elementary and middle schools. And her school raised $50,000 in our program. We taught leadership and fitness and character traits. We would send in a team of young people, and we would teach kids like how to raise money, generosity, some of the basic skills around money. And it ended up exploding into like one of the top 50 franchises in America. We had like 600 employees, served millions of families, but it was an incredible company. And it still is. Apex is still growing like a weed. Schools love it. But thousands and thousands of schools that we serve, no one's teaching money skills. It was the first thing I noticed. And I was like, what is going on? And when we dove into it, it's like, well, teachers, God bless them, they don't know these skills. How are they going to teach the kids?
Right. And no parents are really teaching it. It's just tricky. Yeah.
Parents don't have a roadmap, and they don't speak kid very well, especially when it comes to money. And then half the time the kids don't listen to their parents as much. And so what we quickly realized is, oh, you can't homework money. You have to learn it in the real world. You can't give your kid $10 in an allowance and expect them to know how to manage it well, save, spend, and share it. You can't go to church and give your kid $10 to put in the plate. That kid has to earn. They have to create value. And so that's what started us down this path to GravyStack. And so we're basically automating through fun games and a real bank account for kids ages 6 to 18 to be able to make and manage their own money at home and learn all the core tools to be able to make it in the real world. And so parents get to sit back, learn with the kids if they don't know, and have a blast together learning these skills that no one else is teaching. So that's our game. 50 million kids financially confident is our mission.
That's amazing. And before GravyStack, we were talking about the curriculum that's already available now, right?
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about the curriculum you created for specifically, it sounds like kids and parents?
Yeah, we built the Family Money Skills course.
Okay,
so
tell me about that.
We can put it in show notes, give it to everybody. It's all the 7 core money skills that we've learned helping 6 million families. And there's stages to each of these money skills.
Can you say what they are?
Yeah, earn, save, spend, share, invest, protect, and borrow. Those are our 7. And it all starts with creating value, which we can talk about in a minute. But each of those are difficult. You can't just tell your kid what they are. The kids have to go through healthy struggles and cycles to learn capabilities to do each one. And then they gain confidence to do it outside the home. So let's take earning, for example. There's 4 stages of earning for a kid. It starts with home gigs, which is what we put in GravyStack.
So cool. I've already seen some of this, and I can't wait for my listeners to see it too, but go ahead.
Well, I'll explain home gigs in a minute with the home economy, but gigs is our answer to the allowance nightmare. Because allowance is basically a version of codependence and socialism, and it doesn't work. With us, the gigs are things around the house the kids are doing on top of the free things that you're not paying them for to earn a few extra dollars to cover expenses you give them. Simple as that. They start doing those around the house, they stop asking for money. They start finding things around the house to help you with that you never imagined they would want to do. It's an incredible blessing in the home to have your kids come to you.
Well, I love how you've basically changed the narrative to, instead of like, hey, can you give me money? It's like now they're thinking is, hey, how can I earn money? What are the opportunities I can do to get money? And they go straight to that instead of asking you for money.
That's exactly the way to go.
I love it.
And it's not the free stuff. You should never pay your kids to make their bed, clean their room, brush their teeth, do well in school, get their homework done, and probably even dishes and trash. But if they're going to clean the garage, wash windows, do yard work, make a meal, sweep an entire common area and do a bunch of deep stuff.
Yeah, I always say if you're taking something off of my plate, it's worth it, right?
That's right. So that's the point. And we just automated it. So now it's like a printout for the fridge every week right there in the app. You set up the gigs. They repeat daily, weekly, monthly. You have a system in the home. It's easier than allowance. And the kids now know how to go create value. And so that's step 1. That's the first, and that's in GravyStack. It's all automated. Then the second step of earning is it's not go get a job. It's learn how to flip assets. The second step, a kid needs to understand there's stuff in the garage that we don't want anymore that you could sell safely online and we'll split the profit. Mm-hmm. They need to be able to go to a garage sale with eBay pulled up, see if they could sell something real quick online. They need to learn that arbitrage. They need to learn that's what everyone does. This is what all parents do. They do allowance. 80% of Americans do allowance, and it's not a good idea.
You believe it is socialism.
It's socialism. Even if you pay them for chores, half those chores you shouldn't pay for. And the other half you should pay individually so they can learn the value that's created by what they do. And then the biggest problem is the parents that don't pay their kids anything. And they're like, my kids are the good kids that do all the chores when we tell them to. Okay, that's awesome. But you are now paying for everything for your kids. They're not learning to make and manage anything. They're not learning anything about financial competency because you're buying everything. Now the bank of mom and dad's going to be open till they're 25, 35, 40. So we need to teach these things in the home. And once you've mastered the home gigs in the app, then you go through to have them do their first flips. This is a brilliant way to get rid of old junk, by the way.
Yeah, it sounds like it, because it's like there's a fire under them to get it done.
Yeah, because when you give a kid this freedom and responsibility, they want to earn more every week to be able to cover expenses you pass off to them. And now they're motivated. This is them learning this like trust and respect and freedom from mom and dad. Every kid wants that. And they know kids don't want participation trophies. They don't want allowance. They don't want you to just hand everything to them for free. They don't deeply want that. They want to learn the responsibility and freedom that comes with earning and creating, because that creates capability and confidence for life, right? Mm-hmm. And so...
Well, I love how you told my kids one time, you said, you'll never be looking for a job if you learn how to create value.
Yeah.
And I find that to be true. Like, whatever the plans may be for my life, but I'm like, hey, I know that's one thing I do is I provide value. And so there'll never be a lack of work or opportunity, because I'm just always trying to solve a problem.
That's right.
And I love that you told my kids that, because first of all, they listen to Scott way more than they listen to me. So that's one thing. But the second thing is like just reminding them that it's a different way of looking at life. It's not looking at life like, how can I just be a receiver of whatever income and out there in the world might be available to me. It's like a reactionary, but it's proactive.
That's right.
And I don't want my kids to be reactionary and just go with the next opportunity that comes to them. I want them to say, what do I love? What do I want to solve? What do I want to do? And then be proactive when it comes to generating income. Yeah,
that's the point of the book, Value Creation Kid. So that's our bestseller. That's the first lesson of all of these legacy families, which we'll hit later on.
Yeah.
Creating value is the game here, because money is just a store of value. That's it. So when parents are like, if they focus on money for themselves, it doesn't actually translate to the kids. Even when they say, go get a job, the kids first, they're like, I don't want to.
Right.
You pay for everything. And they're like, I don't want to go work. But if you change the lens and you say, no, it's about creating value in the world, material, emotional, and spiritual value. If you can do that, then your life is set right out before you, and it's yours for the taking. And now kids have a lens. They become value creation detectives. They're finding ways to create value and solve problems and help other people get what they want and need. These are the kids that make captain. These are the kids that make the best grades. These are the kids that get the job. These are the kids that get the promotion. These are the kids that start the businesses that help a ton of people. That's how you get there. And I was trained in that from like age 8. Like my first business was 8 years old with like
and your parents just said, hey, start a business, or what did they tell you?
Yeah. Said, we're not paying for these things. You got to figure out a way to do it.
So what was your business at 8 years old?
Bead gecko keychains.
So you would make keychains and sell them at school?
Yeah. And then I went to school and hired my friends. I paid them $0.25 to make these bead gecko keychains for me.
And how much do you sell them for?
$2.
Oh my goodness.
And we did that for about 3 months. Sold them door to door to all our friends all over the place. And then after about a couple months, none of the kids in our 3rd grade class were going to lunch or recess because they were making keychains the whole time. And then
for fun, for free?
Yeah, no, for $0.25.
Oh, they would do it for $0.25?
They wanted $0.25, and they loved doing it. But then the principal found out and suspended me.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And my supply line got cut. So I go home. I thought I was going to get it bad. Thought I was in big trouble. My dad heard the story, and instead of punishing me, he took me out to steak.
He was like, good on you.
He was like, do this for the rest of your life.
He did?
Yeah. So that's the thinking here, is like create value first. Money follows value. It's just a store of value. It's a tool. And so back to that earning, for instance, like when you start at home doing these things, you can gain the initial capability and confidence. Now, once you have that confidence and you understand like what arbitrage is and flipping assets and things like that, now you're ready to go into the community with family and friends, neighbors, take the skills you're learning at home and then move them into the community. I think every kid doesn't have to become an entrepreneur, but every kid needs to learn to be entrepreneurial. Those are the problem solvers. They're empathetic. They understand customer service. They find wants and needs. So I think every kid should have like a fun, small service business or product in the neighborhood, whether it's lawns or babysitting or spray painting addresses or helping other people get rid of their old junk. I mean, we have 135 options that kids can choose from to make $1,000 on a Saturday, just
Amazing.
right now. So that's the third level. And then the fourth level is doing your first run of your own products or services on your own to sell. It's again, this entrepreneurial thinking. You don't have to run a business forever.
Right.
But you
can understand, like, you can understand there's a supply, there's a product, there's delivery, there's customer service, there's collecting bills payable, all this thing. That is so helpful, even if it might even help people that aren't entrepreneurs to decide, I don't want to be the boss. Like, I love being a number two.
Exactly.
Or it might, you know what I'm saying? You discover a lot. But what I think it does, what I hope it does for my kids most, is it helps them to feel confident that no matter what, they can feed their family.
Yeah.
They can figure it out. Even if there isn't like an opportunity coming at their door, they can go create the opportunity.
Yes.
And I want them to feel very like it might be a false sense of security, but almost like a safety in, I have the tools I need to go out and find a need, and I can feed my kids if I had to.
Yeah.
So I just love that, like, ability, the independence to be able to say, I am capable if I had to roll up my sleeves and figure out something.
These kids have no fear of the future, and you don't have to do it forever. You can make 50 soap bars and sell them, and that's it.
And then you're like, that was my run.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah.
Well, so the precursor to GravyStack,
Yeah.
because we didn't just build GravyStack. It took us 10 years to get here.
Yep.
So we started doing these children's business fairs in our local community. And we started childrensbusinessfair.com. There's 1,600 of them now all over the world. It's this free thing we do just for fun. Once a year in Phoenix, where we live, all the local kids come to the park with products that they made with their own hands. And we taught them the economy, what COGS are, what profit is, what's your price. You can't charge too much because not everyone would want to buy it. You can't charge too little because you're not going to make any profit. Profit is the lifeblood of any company. It's a good thing. You need it, or else you're out of business.
Yep.
And then we teach them the pitch. And the pitch has three things: what it is, why it's awesome, and how much. And so then these kids go to the fair with these products. They get their own little booth. Everyone invites all their friends and family. So we get like 1,000 customers. And they make hundreds of dollars by serving customers for 3 hours. We had a kid, I could tell you 1,000 stories. I mean, the funniest one was a girl last year sitting on a stool charging she was 7 years old, and she charged you $4 to give you advice. Unbelievable. It was the funniest one I saw.
And people would sit down and be like, what should I do about? And then she would give them her 7-year-old advice.
Yeah, first grader. Brilliant. But there's like a ton of them. Her
costs were like very minimal there.
Well, that's why she did it. She learned COGS, and she's like, oh, I don't want to make anything. I want to give advice. And then there's like brownies and paper airplanes and soap and slime. Like one of the best ones. We had a girl get on Shark Tank, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah, Michaela, Sweet Bee Sweet Lemonade. She got a deal with Damon John. Now she's in every Whole Foods in America, like 12 years old. Like, this is an amazing skill for a kid to get, because think of it this way. If a kid makes something with their hands and their brain that serves somebody else and adds value to their life, so much so that they want to pay them for it, and the kid benefits and profits from it, that kid is confident. They just gained an incredible capability, and they have a deep confidence. Not like a pat on the back.
Like, you're nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a genuine, like, I created something that had value for someone else.
And that's how you get no fear for the future. That's how you get there.
And I want you to say those 3 elements of the pitch one more time for those people listening and trying to help their kids. I loved what you said.
What it is, why it's awesome, and how much.
I love it. So basic, but
it's so basic.
I mean, I'll do interviews with people that I'm trying to hire, and I'm like, hey, one of my husband's favorite questions is like, hey, the 60 seconds, you have 60 seconds to sell me your favorite thing you ever tried or used or whatever. And so many people forget one of those 3 things, and it's like so basic, but they forget to tell you how much or why it's awesome or what it is. So I think that's great advice. So back to your course, if somebody was like, oh, I really want to take that course with my kids, where could they get access to the course?
Yeah, so we have a parenting community that we've
Okay.
launched. We have GravyStack that's like do it yourself. Download the app and go.
It's an app.
It's an app on iOS and Android and iPhone, Android tablet. And the kids don't have to have their own phone. You start at age 6 and you just go. It's like $7 a month. And I'll give you guys a code for your audience. I'll get a free month just to get in there.
Yeah, so you can check it out.
Yep. We can put that all in the show notes.
Yeah.
But then all the parents that start doing GravyStack, they literally like 2 weeks into it, they're like, my kids are never asking for money ever again. This is crazy. And then like a month in, the kids have saved their parents like $600 by like, they're canceling subscriptions in the game for the family. They're hunting for coupons. They're learning that skill. They're planning the next family trip on a budget. Like all these things that we put in the game that are practical that no one has thought about teaching their kids. That's so dumb simple. Why have we not done this? We have an eat in versus eat out challenge where you just make the meal at home instead of going out to eat, and you calculate the percentage that you save.
I love it.
It's just simple things like that are part of the game. So now the kids are intrinsically motivated to be able to want to do these things, whereas before it was like pulling teeth and conflict and exhaustion from the parents.
Well, and not really understanding. It's not powerful enough to just say, you guys, we're going to eat in for this month. We're trying to save some money.
Right.
Okay, well, what does that mean to a kid?
Doesn't mean anything to them.
No. And then you could almost make them scared because they're like, are we okay? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're just like, no, we're just trying to be mindful of our money or
Right.
whatever. And it can be excessively wasteful to eat out all of the time.
Yeah.
So, I just think that's the way you approach it is more they're getting rewarded
Yep.
for finding ways to save the family money within the app,
Right.
which is really smart.
So the parents started seeing the kids, all these transformations, and they're all happening in the app right now. Now the parents are asking, okay, we want more. How do we do more training? Like help us. So now we have our family money skills course. It's on dinnertable.com. You can find it right there.
Okay.
And then we have workshops for parents as well that take them through our main tools. And this is just for the parents who want to go the next step.
Yeah.
The app's awesome. But these courses and workshops are like really for the parents, like, all right, I want to nail this one. I never learned this stuff. I only get a certain amount of time with my kids. You know, kids are like seeds you plant. You don't know how you did for like 20 years, right?
Yeah.
And
it's the craziest thing ever. You're like, okay, well, we'll find out when they're 40.
Yeah, I hope I watered
did
it
all
right.
right.
Yeah, you don't know. And you only have a little bit of time. Like 90% of your time with your kids in your entire life with them is done by 18. And you only get a small window to get this stuff right, and then they're out and they're on their own. And, you know, our goal for all this training is to make sure that you're deeply connected, that they're carrying on the values, the beliefs, the skills, the mindsets, the financial competencies to succeed. And yeah, nobody wants their kids to just like leave forever and struggle. You really want to nail it with them. And so that's what we're here to help families do.
I love that. I love that so much. So, what would you say the 2 keys to learning are that you talk about often?
Yeah. So by far, this is what we see in the education system and all of our practical work with kids. Kids learn in 2 ways: by having fun and real life experience. Those are the 2 things that set it into their long-term memory. So with fun, it's intrinsically motivating, right? Celebrate. Everything's worth celebrating.
Yes.
What I like to say is, until further notice, celebrate. Kids need fun. Like chores, we don't even say the word chores. We don't even say it. We don't say allowance because that's a terrible idea. But we don't say chores. We don't say entrepreneurship, business, sales. Those sound like homework to kids. You have to make these things fun. And if you make them fun, they become intrinsically motivating. And so now you're not pushing boulders up a hill anymore. You're chasing them downhill. And then with real life experience, it's the practical skills that gives them capability and confidence for the rest of their life. So I wish that the education world would listen to that one little bit of advice, because I think it would change a lot.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of teachers doing amazing things, but some of these things, you can't homework it. You have to do it in the real world. And money is the most important one, because everybody rails against the education system. I'm not blaming the school systems, by the way. I think this stuff doesn't happen around the desks. It happens around the dinner table, which is why we have dinnertable.com. That's the whole point. And so when it comes to these skills, parents need a roadmap. Did I tell you our survey we did? I don't know if I mentioned this yet.
No, tell me that.
Okay, so this is fascinating. We did a survey of 1,000 parents when we started GravyStack and their kids. And we just said everything about money. Tell us, what do you learn? What did you learn? What are your issues? What do you need help with? Number one thing the parents all said is, we have no roadmap. Like,
We're just doing our best. We're trying to feed our kids.
Yeah.
And
We're busy. I don't know. I hope they got it at school. We do allowance, and then if we're good, they split it into save, spend, share, and then we get them a bank account when they hit puberty, and maybe they do a lemonade stand once. That's what most of the parents said.
I can totally see that.
And they're like, we have no roadmap. Please help. And so that's what the parents said. The kids was the most fascinating. 85% or so of the kids said, we don't want to talk about money. It's the biggest fight in our home. Intimacy and money. But kids never see the first one because that's usually in the bedroom. Money, they see it all the time. Hey, money doesn't grow on trees. You know how much this costs? Do you know how hard I worked to get you this? And you just didn't care? You know, we can't afford that. The kids hear this all the time.
Oh, I'm guilty of saying some of those things.
Yeah.
Yes.
And when kids don't know anything about money unless they hear those things, they're like, forget it. I got food, shelter, clothing. I'm just gonna have fun, play video games and chill with my friends, play sports. I don't even want to think about money. So we have to change the conversation around this in the house. So we train on money convos in the course. We train on what do you pay for? What do you not pay for? We train on the home economy system, which is how you set up the gigs, the auto repeating gigs.
Which, just to clarify for people, inside of their app, there are opportunities that he calls gigs that have a price attached to them. Or I've even heard of some parents like asking their kids to give them a quote for the gig. So, that's a little extra bonus points, right? For getting to be able to quote your work. But, and then when they want money, instead of asking their parents for it, they go into the app, they look at the gigs that are available, choose something they'd like to do to earn that extra money, and then they do it, and it's attached to a banking system. So you can directly pay them into their bank account through GravyStack.
Yeah, so we studied the best families in the world and really nailed it. We'll talk about this more later. But what we found is that all the best families did not do allowance. They did a version of the gigs. But they had whiteboards and checklists and points and stickers. It was a nightmare. It was annoying, and they all quit doing it after like 6 months because it was just so...
The hassle of the organization side of it.
So we took it and automated it. So now the home economy for us is 3 E's. This is the best way people can remember it. Expectations, expenses, extra pay. So the expectations are first. These are the things you don't pay your kids for. If you want to keep our last name, you're going to do these things for free, right?
I love it.
Make your bed, clean the room, keep good hygiene, dishes, trash, and homework. Like, you don't pay for those things. The second E is expenses. This is where all parents go wrong. Expenses are 12 categories we've identified that kids, by the time they get their driver's license, should be covering all 12 of them. Starting at age 6, they should be starting to cover these. Because when you give a kid expenses to cover, now they have a motivation to earn. That's the key. And you save hundreds of dollars a month as a parent that you can just have your kids earn and then pay for those things themselves and then learn the skills on how to be financially confident.
Yeah.
That's the point. So toys, trinkets, souvenirs, tech, all those things to start. Birthday presents for friends, that's my favorite. How many times have you got the present, wrapped the present, got the card?
Just did it this weekend, Scott.
There you go. Well, we all do it. So do we sometimes. But that kid is going to bring that present in, chuck it on the table, and not learn anything about generosity. What if they made the $15, got the present, you help them wrap it, they'll sign it, and they're going to run into that party, run up to the kid, say, I want to celebrate with you for your birthday right now. Open this. I want to see your face. I got this for you. That's a generous kid for life. So this is what happens when you start to transfer the expenses. Social outings with friends. Like sports equipment, for goodness sakes. If you want the Air Jordans, it's on you. You can have the Reeboks, but if you want those. So parents are now starting to go, oh my goodness, my kids can start to pay. My favorite one was cavities. If a kid gets a cavity,
they charge the expense to the child. I love it.
Now they're going to brush their teeth 3 times a day and floss twice. This is what happens when you transfer the responsibility. And then you give them the third E, which is extra pay. These are our gigs, okay? All around the house. Stuff in the yard, plan for, pack for the travel trip, sweep the garage, wash the window, make a meal, clean a bathroom, organize a closet, alphabetize my books, for God's sakes. And then we added in brain gigs, my favorite part. These are books that you can challenge your kids to read on top of the free school work that they have to do. TED Talks, articles, PragerU's. This is what all the best families did. They gave their kids incentives to learn extra over and above things that the parents or grandparents now wanted those kids to learn. Don't eat sugar for a week. I'll pay you $5, right?
It's amazing. I mean, I always say in my coaching business, reward the behavior you want to see.
That's right.
So it's as simple as like, if you're having a problem with X, then let's just change the game. Like, instead of penalizing people, what could be the reward of a new KPI or outcome?
Yeah.
And then it's just like a total flip of the game. But I love that you're doing that with your kids.
Yeah.
See, I've done this in business, but I haven't done it with my kids. And that's why I'm so excited, because I'm just a new GravyStack user.
Yeah.
And I am going to apply so many of these things because I've seen it work in business. Of course it should work with our kids. Yeah. Why not?
Your kids need to learn how to make money with their brain. Think about that. The best families we studied, they all did get brain gigs like this for their grandkids and kids. And kids need to understand that we don't just use our hands and feet to work really hard and do like hard labor. We all use our brains to earn and create value in the world. A kid needs to learn that at a young age. And that's why this is so powerful. And it also connects the family deeper. You know, I just got a text from my buddy, Chris Crone. He's like, my kids just read all these books I never imagined they would read. Ayn Rand, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, like B.J. Fogg, Tiny Habits.
What are your books you're hoping your kids read?
Yeah, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yep.
Acres of Diamonds.
Okay.
The 48 Laws of Power. Atlas Shrugged. Just like getting a clear picture of how the world actually works. And these are heavy things they're never taught in schools, by the way. They're like outlawed. And I'm like, these are the best books in the world that changed my life. B.J. Fogg, Tiny Habits, is an unbelievable book, how to hack anything in your life and move across the action line. It's an unbelievable book. Jim Quick, Limitless, how you use your brain to learn faster and create more value. I mean, these books are incredible. And I am happy to pay my kids $10, $15, even $20 to learn those skills, write me up a one-pager on how they're going to apply. Not just what you learned. How are you going to apply what you learned in this book? I want three core ways.
Wow. Can you guys imagine Scott as a dad? I'd be like so motivated. I'd be like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Okay. Before we go to your favorite drink, tell me what creating a life worth celebrating means to you.
Man, a life worth celebrating is a sweet aroma in the home to me. There's this Danish term called hygge. Have you heard of this?
No.
There's a Danish term it's called hygge. There's a book on it. And my best friend married a Danish girl, and they're the sweetest family. Their whole goal is to celebrate everything and have, when anyone enters their home, every aspect of what they feel, smell, hospitality, how they're treated, how the family loves each other, creates hygge. It's the sweet aroma of the family. So for me, that is the greatest feeling I've had, is when our family has this sweet aroma, like our love for the Lord, our love for our family, our kids, and the way that they're alive for life. They're adding value everywhere they go. You know, by the way, when my kids go to bed, I ask them, what value did you create for people today? Sharon Lecter taught me this, who was like one of the gurus of financial literacy worldwide. The Cash Flow Game. She actually did Rich Dad, Poor Dad, like with Robert Kiyosaki.
Wow.
She said the number one thing that changed her life was when her dad asked her every night before bed, what value did you create for others today? So for me, a celebrated life is hygge. And I want that to be in my home, in my business, in my heart, in my faith. It's a sweet aroma. That's a biblical term.
Yeah.
But I think when you start to apply these principles, it's pretty easy to get things smelling pretty good.
Yep. I love that. Well, before we bring out your favorite drink here, which is one of my favorite drinks too, where can people find out more about you, Scott?
Yeah. Well, GravyStack is everything. That's the goal. And then dinnertable.com if they want to get more courses in the Family Money Skills course or do a workshop with us. And then I'm Scott Donnell on all the socials.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so what are we drinking today?
We're drinking a drink that I found in your fridge before we got here that I really like.
There were many options. I wanted to just clarify that. It's not the only one. But
I picked this one. Cherry bubbly.
I love it. Well, I love a good sparkling water. So I want to say cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for being on the show today.
Glad to be here.
This was a great moment here with Scott Donnell. I hope you got some amazing parenting tips. I am still chewing on some of them personally, actually, on things I need to do when I get home tonight. So thanks for being here today, and thanks for helping us learn how to live a life worth celebrating. If you liked the episode, hit like, subscribe, and we hope to see you soon. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe to the show, rate, review, and share with a friend. Also, follow The Something New Show on Instagram and Facebook. If you want a fuller experience, watch the show on YouTube to help you create a life worth celebrating.